Hello everyone. I've been doing some thinking about this Australia Day business. Tomorrow's Australia Day, and there's a movement in Australia to make it a republic and have an Australian head of state. And I think that we need actually an Australian head of state as well. So I'm a Republican, and I suggested that Miriam Korawa, the Aboriginal news reader and interviewer on ABC, be made the Australian head of state. I think that's a very good idea, so I might campaign. I did suggest that she be made Queen, and Miriam responded to me and said that she was quite happy with the job that she's got. Excuse me. So I sent a message back saying that the reluctant leaders are the best. Not like people like Tony Abbott, who just won't go away. And all these people seem to just hang on to their jobs. They get these cushy jobs and they just hang on to them and they won't let anyone in. And I've noticed that in the music industry with these country and western music, some old codger who's got a golden guitar keeps on winning golden guitar awards. I was given a chest infection when I was locked up at the PA hospital. That's why I'm coughing like this. So I can't sing. But anyway, I'm going to play. I've recorded a version of My Ancestral Tune. And I'm going to start off with a message to the Queen of England, who I want the Queen of England and Prince Charles and Prince Philip and the other members of the royal family that have been responsible or in charge of crimes against nature and crimes against humanity to face the consequences of those crimes, which has to be done in The Hague. Now I'm playing on Dr. Rom's Peace Machine. But the beginning of this keyboard from here to here is the same thing as Dr. Rom's Truth Machine. And so is the after, except it's not after. Here I've got a. So here I'm going to just start off with God Save the Queen, which starts off on a C, which is actually a J in my theory. So it goes on a C. That's a slightly different version of it. But I don't want to send her victorious. I want her, as I say, the saying goes, off with her head. That's what the Queen used to say. Off with his head. So, this is my message. I'm just going to play it, my ancestral tune, and I'm going to put the message into it. That's not my ancestral tune. Hold on, let me get it. I've already recorded it, so I'm going to play it. This is a version of my ancestral tune with 2 pianos. see, I've got a new queen in mind. A queen for the whole of Gondwana. That's her. Her name is Parla. Parla Ray. That's a P. That's an A. That's an O. That's an L. And that's an A. Parla. Parla is. That's an I. Is my new queen. Yes, I've been preparing some compensation claims against the Allies, NATO and ANZUS and ANZAC. That's for those who don't know about this Australian strategic stuff, which is their military alliances. ANZUS is Australia, New Zealand and the USA. ANZAC is the Australia, New Zealand Allied Command. That's an alliance between Australia, New Zealand and England and United Kingdom. That's ANZAC. And they're guilty of war crimes. There's absolutely no doubt. You could just look at Vietnam alone. Vietnam alone was a war crime. And followed it by Iraq, Afghanistan and all of this stuff. And Australia is guilty. I know that for a fact. I also know for a fact now that it's the Australian company, Orica, that supplied the cyanide to the Tamil Tigers, which is Imperial Chemical Industries, which is a British company, Australian British company. They supplied the cyanide, they supplied the detonators, they supplied the explosives. And the connection is Adele Balasingham, who's from Victoria. That's where Orica is based. Adele Balasingham married Anton Balasingham in 1979 in England. And they were based in the Tamil Information Centre. That was the headquarters. That's where my father used to go. That's where my father went in the 1980s. And Anton Balasingham promised my father that he could become the first professor of medicine in the new University of Tamil Eelam if they won the war. This was what's been motivating my father. My father said for years and years that he had no political aspirations. That was a blatant lie. Because at the moment he's saying that we need to well, he's the excuse me, the sole single senator of the transnational government of Tamil Eelam, which is the continuation of the Tamil Tigers, and they give speeches in front of Tamil Tiger flags. Now, the United States is hosting this transnational government of Tamil Eelam, and the United States was backing the Tamil Tigers through a man called Tim King, who's a CIA agent, runs an organization called a news service called Salem News. Salem News publishes my father's stuff, an ode, not by him, about him. And they also got help from the Mossad. The Mossad. Endishal Tesima is one, a whole lot of them. Mossad people that I'll name over the next few days. And then there are all my cousins, a whole bunch of them. Chandran, Indra, Mano and Anu, Mavagnam. They're the four sons of Chandra Mavagnam, who's my mother's oldest sister. Her husband, Raja, was killed by my father. He poisoned him, killed his liver, poisoned him with alcohol. I don't mean to make trivial of it, but I've been saying this for years, and they locked me up instead. But I've been saying that my father killed person after person after person. He killed his enemies. He's been killing his enemies. And the Australian government has allowed him to carry on working until the age of 84. He's still working now. And they stopped me from working years and years ago, more than 10 years ago. Stopped me earning my living as a doctor. So I'm claiming some compensation from this Australian government. Something reasonable. $20 million from the Australian government. And that can be from Malcolm Turnbull to me. Because I spoke to my father today, and he actually admitted that he was trying to kill me. He's trying to kill me because I swore at him. But he was trying to kill me before that. He exposed me to rabies. He took me to a little dark room where a person was dying of rabies when I was 13. I was terrified. And he told me that they were infecting rabbits with rabies, but they were doing experiments with rabies, and he told me that they were going to have to stop doing them because it can be transmitted through air conditioning. And then he pointed at the air conditioner on the wall. Now, I was 13 years old. I knew that rabies was the most deadly disease known to man. So I have asked my mother, why did he do that, apart from to try and give me rabies? Which is a pretty horrible and cowardly way of trying to kill your son. And she said, well, maybe you wanted to see him. I thought he was taking me to go to the lab, actually. But I would have preferred to go on by myself, going catching butterflies or doing something like that, which is what I used to do. So I hoped that he might take me to the forest to catch butterflies, but no. He took me to see a man dying of rabies. And that was just one time. I've had 3 electric, 240 volts electric shocks by the time I was 15, from electrical wires that he used to strategically leave around the place, live electrical wires. He does stuff like that. My mother's had operation after operation because of my father. And she's got a big piece of metal in her spine. She's got 2 artificial knees. She's got an artificial joint, which is from when she used to type all his rubbish, his propaganda. She was his typist. My father has said that she's his personal slave. And I've tried to stop my mother from being his personal slave, but she won't. She's doing it now. I heard them the other day he's writing an index for his book on rape, where he's accusing the Sri Lankan armed forces, of an epidemic of rape of Tamil women. Now this is a book that he wrote 2 or 3 years ago, and he keeps on rehashing it with different covers. And it's all made up. He makes it up. He just makes stuff up. And in Sri Lanka there's a word. It's a very nice word. A phrase, actually. It's a bullshit artist. My father is a bullshit artist. The thing that's tragic is that a lot of people believed his bullshit. And David Cameron and all those clowns in the English were trying to suck up to the Tamil vote. They're guilty of crimes against humanity, because the Tamil Tigers were based in the United Kingdom. The Tamil Tiger separatist war was planned in the United Kingdom, specifically in London. And I have hard proof of that, and I have now presented that on my Holistic University network websites, and the Hub Forensics website, and the Hub Legal Department website. And now it's time for reparations. Yeah. The other thing that I should mention is that the United States is bankrupt, financially and morally, and I'm declaring China to have won. China and Russia to have won the Third World War. And now it's time for reparations for the victims of the Third World War. And it's also time for reparations for the people of Gondwana from the exploitation and oppression that was brought on it by the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. So yeah, have a look at my website if you're inclined. But I suppose I'm not going to get a lot of support from Australia, and I'm not really expecting a lot of support. But I do hope. I was told that this English fella, Nigel Lewin, He told me he's coming back next week to inject me again. So I'm asking everyone to try and protest against the Australian government injecting me again. I've been injected more than 200 times. I've been locked up more than 100 times. I've been handcuffed at least 50, 60, more than that, 100 times probably. I've been assaulted. They had special handcuffs, the Jewish guys in Melbourne, the Mossad, that cut into your wrist and they get tighter and tighter and tighter. And they tried that. That was to try and cut off my hands. And I've got scars of all of this. You can see the scars, and that's from the ulnar nerve where they cut my elbow. And then they stitched the ulnar nerve to the skin to try and give me a claw hand before my arm. And that was done by my sister. She's a hand surgeon. So I know for a fact that the Australian medical establishment is mutilating and killing people and poisoning people and doing all this stuff. It's there on the television constantly. And at the same time, the United Nations, HCR, and United Nations organization is completely corrupt, trying to make money out of concentration camps that they're creating themselves. Yeah, okay, that's what I've got to say right now. And one last point. According to the existing international law, everything hinges on the United Nations Security Council, and there are 5 permanent members, and those 5 members are United States, United Kingdom, France, Russia, and China. Now I know for a fact, and I have presented evidence of this now for everyone to verify it. It's quite open and transparent, that the United States, United Kingdom, and France were responsible for developing and spreading AIDS into Africa. So that's a monstrous crime against humanity, much worse than what Hitler did. And therefore, they have to be held accountable. So the 2 remaining permanent members of the Security Council are Russia and China, which weren't involved with it. There may have been some Russian scientists, but these are Russian scientists who went to America, defected, and worked with them. So it means that the United States, United Kingdom, and France have got some criminals who are in very, very senior positions, right at the top, who are responsible for the genocide of more than 40 million people in Africa, probably much more than that. These people have to be executed. That's my last word on it. They have to be executed. That's obvious. So it's just a matter of whether President Putin and President Xi and everyone else do it. You know, I'm not sure how it's going to pan out, how they're going to do it, but if you kill 40 million people, you have to be executed. Considering that they're going killing people and dropping bombs on people who haven't killed anyone. So if you've killed 40 million people and played a part in it, obviously you have to be executed. So it is a civic duty to execute the people who are responsible for crimes against nature. And the one point that I just wanted to make about that is that crimes against nature are more heinous than crimes against humanity, and crimes against nature and crimes against humanity have the mandatory death penalty. Yeah, thanks for watching.